So you're a business owner and you need access to lots and lots and lots of capital. You're tired of the fact that your local bank or just banks in general simply can't give you the funding you need. You've tried venture capital firms, private equity firms, hedge funds. Nobody seems to be able to give you the money you need, the amount of money you need, at the speed you need it. You heard about this thing called private placement platforms. You're wondering if these things are real. You're looking for somebody who's got experience, expertise, ability to execute much more important case studies and references. In this video, I've got you covered. I'm going to show you behind the scenes how these things work, why they work, and much more importantly, I'm going to show you not one but two real life customer videos, case studies on not private placement platforms, but rather alternative private placement platforms that are actually working and paying out. You've got to watch this video. Hi, I'm Taimour Zaman. The purpose of this video is, in full disclosure, I'm not going to be selling you any investment instruments. I'm not going to disclose any kind of returns. I'm not a law firm. I'm not going to give you any legal advice, not tax advice, like none of that stuff. The purpose of this video is strictly for education and entertainment purposes only. I feel, 20 years ago when I was in the real estate investing business, I was hustling for accessing capital all the time. It was a challenge for me. I came across two individuals who participate in something called private placement platform. That's how I discovered them. And I got frauded not once but twice from these platforms. And so having some references and that these things are real and lots of unfortunate case studies on how they're fraudulent, I decided to go study these platforms. Today I'm proud to say I am in a private placement platform myself as a client, as well as have been successful in helping a lot of clients get into hybrids or real private placement platforms that are genuinely real. I'm going to talk a little bit about how these things started, why they started, so give you context of how they work behind the scenes. Then I want to talk to you about a little bit about why there's so much fraud. And much more importantly, I'm going to show you two customer case studies, videos of real customers that will talk about their successes and what to look for and how to avoid the pitfalls, and for you to get all the information, for you to get started as soon as you want to. So, in beginning of World War II, governments discovered that the amount of capital they put into the economy after World War I caused a lot of inflation. So governments were looking for a utility, a way to carefully put money in the economy, to create infrastructure funding, to give people access to capital that they need in a careful consideration way. I'm going to use the wrong terms in this whole presentation or this whole video. I'm going to use lots of wrong terms, and I apologize for that ahead of time. But I find from a storytelling perspective, people can understand the concept a lot better versus becoming very technical. So the Brand Accord, if I can say it this way, was an opportunity for governments to look, especially in Europe, to look at how to, now this is the wrong term, print money from thin air. That was the reason why private placement platforms were born. In a nutshell, today, 7 years after, private placement platforms have been in existence for 70 years. A lot of banking products and services have been in existence for a long time, but this is pretty much how it works today. Originally, it was invented as a utility to create project funding from creating what I call money out of thin air and build infrastructure of Europe so communism wouldn't grow. 7 years after, the people still need funding for low-income housing, for infrastructure, for what I call voiceless projects like environment. Environment is a voiceless project, and so private placement platforms becomes a fantastic utility alternative to help make that happen. So that's the story behind the scenes. Now let me tell you the technical piece of it and how it works. A lot of people somehow don't know this, don't think about this, or don't understand this. The central banks, not your bank, the central banks have one job: print money. Look at the federal, look at the central bank in the United States. It prints a lot of money all day long. So typically how a private placement platform works is that there's a central bank, BIS as an example, it monitors the economy. It says, okay, hold on a second, the level of credit facility has come down. I want to increase the credit facility, and so can we go and do a buy and sell of a banking instrument so that we can create a credit facility. Generally speaking, the real, and I mean the real private placement platforms are underwritten by Queen of England, Queen of Belgium, Mississippi Bank. Like these are massive, for lack of a better word, underwriters that can underwrite a private placement platform. So the central bank works with selected commercial banks, and when I mean selected commercial banks, I'm talking about the top 20 banks in the world. Imagine there's over 10 million banks around the world. It's only the top 20 that have the assets and the credit facility required to actually start something called private placement programs. So, one of the common questions, especially I get from law firms, is this is too good to be true and how come everybody else doesn't know about it? Well, part of the answer is this can only be done in the top 20 banks on the planet who have the assets and the credit facilities of it. And how many clients do you, Mr. Law Firm, have that are clients of the top 20 banks? So that's part of the 10,000 answers I have on why isn't everybody doing this and why doesn't everybody know about this. But the central bank decides to create a credit, increase the credit facility in a very, I don't want to say closed environment, but in a careful environment. And when I say increase credit facility, what I don't mean is put a lot of free money in the economy. I actually never use that term. What I said is, what it is an increase or enhancement of the monetary, of the amount of money that's in the economy, is what private placement programs do. So a central bank puts together a bunch of selected banks, I'm going to say it that way, and we'll say, hey, I'm going to issue a standard of credit, or I'm going to issue a bank guarantee that's like $1 trillion bank guarantee for you guys. And what the banks do is once they are in a contract for that deal, now these contracts are generally 5 years long, generally speaking. There's lots of secrecy around the contract between the central bank and the top 20 banks when they want to do something called private placement program, because you are impacting the currency valuation. You're impacting a lot of different parts of the economy. It's usually a 5-year contract. There's secrecy around it. They sign the contract, and the central bank offers a standby of credit or a bank guarantee that's underwritten, and then the commercial banks, based by that SBLC or bank guarantee, go and get medium-term notes or whatever the banking instrument is. And what they do is they get involved into the buy and sell of a banking instrument from a primary market into a secondary market. Now, what I'm telling you, you can actually go and research it yourself. There's lots and lots of public available data on, and this is something you just have to know how to research and how to find. Coincidentally, in my office, we have found a lot of them, and we can provide evidence of it. And like I've done lots of demonstrations to attorneys and law firms and private placement programs and how they exist and so on. But you can actually find evidence of it, of like 5 of the top banks buying medium-term notes from what's called a primary market and selling it to a secondary market. How it happens is that imagine you have a rich uncle, and your rich uncle says, I have a credit card I'm going to give you. You can go to Walmart, as example, and buy 100,000 coffees. And based by the credit card that I'm going to give you, you can then go and sell these coffees to a bunch of smaller distributors and make yourself a profit by that. But there's a key part of it. For me to give you a credit card, you need to demonstrate 1/10 of the amount of money that I'm going to give you. You need to go raise it yourself. So what the top 20 banks do is they knock into, generally speaking, the wealth management department of their bank. They don't go to rich clients, they go to ultra rich clients that have $100 million, $500 million, $700 million parked in their bank. It's not a Facebook advertising for sure. They're hand selecting the clients that they will talk to. And the value proposition is, if you park $100 million or $500 million in a specific account, we, the bank, will generate a line of credit based by that. The line of credit is underwritten by a massive underwriter. That line of credit goes into buying and selling of banking instruments. will get into a contract based on that. You, Mr. Client, who's depositing money, have nothing at risk. That's what the deal is. And the what's in it for you is that for that 100 million that you're going to put in, or 500 million dollars that you're going to put in, you will get that exact amount every month into your account for 10 months or for 1 year, for something like that. Why would they do this with select hand-selected people is because the average person doesn't have $100 million. The average person, even if they put out $500,000, next day they need it. But ultra rich clients have $100 million that they don't need, or $500 million that they don't need, like that. Now comes the other components of the private placement program. These programs are not designed for the average Joe to become rich. These programs are actually designed for something called project funding, what I call voiceless projects being funded. The other word for it is called humanitarian projects. Every Joker broker will tell you can do this. Every Joker broker will tell you something that's completely false, which is you can do this as much as you want. The answer is no, that's not true. Real private placement programs, you can do it by law, you can do it twice. If you can do it as much as you want to, everybody would be as rich as Jeff Bezos at Amazon. So the truth is you can do this 10 gazillion times. Pretty much central bank talks to the banks, creates a credit facility, they go into a buy and sell program, they create profit, 50% of the profit generally from the private placement platform goes to a client for their contribution, and so on. One question I get is, why does the bank need outside depositors' money? And here's the answer to that. It's illegal for a bank to use its own funds to create a line of credit for itself. By law, what the bank needs to do is come to a high net worth individual and say, can you park $100 million or $500 million into a specific account? Based on that, we're going to create a credit line based on that. The last time I did a detailed video on private placement programs, so over 1 hour video, I provided something that you can fact check, and that is the central bank gives the bank a line of credit for 10 times multiples. That's actually true even until today. That has remained true in North America and the top banks in Europe. What you'll notice is the central bank now gives an uplift of 25 times multiples to the top 20 banks in the world when they do this. So what that means is that when the ultra rich client puts $100 million, the bank doesn't get a line of credit for $1 billion, which would be a 10 times multiple. They get a line of credit for $2.5 billion from the central bank because a client deposited $100 million into a bank account for a private placement program. So that's the correction to the one detailed one I did a few years ago. That's over an hour long on how private placement programs work. Now, what I think is fantastic, if you get a chance to actually work with a real, genuine private placement provider, I highly, highly recommend this. Like in my industry, this would be like seeing Picasso art. You go to a trade desk, to the actual trader, and you say, can you show me the behind the scenes work? And what the trader will do is they'll show you something called Euroclear. They'll show you the Euroclear screen, and they'll show you how a line of credit from the central bank turns into the common real cash. But what they can show you something called book entry of off-balance sheet operation. So what you can see in a Euroclear screenshot is a book entry of a balance sheet operation. Like you can actually see how a line of credit turns into cash. A private placement program is not something that happens every day. One of the biggest challenges clients have is they're looking for a needle in a haystack. For every real private placement platform, which is there's 16 real private placement platforms, there is probably 6,000 wannabe private placement platforms. In full disclosure, I am a wannabe of a real private placement platform. And then for every one wannabe private placement platform, I would say there's 10,000 fake, fraudulent, professional fraud artists out there. If you look at some of my previous case study videos, you'll see a lot of fraud in this space for sure. If you ever care about seeing one of these, I think it's a fantastic opportunity like I have. My career started with learning these things. I have the privilege of getting into one of them. What that translates to for my clients is this. You know, when you go to a bookstore, there's a lot of people who have written a book called How to Get Rich. And if you look at the author's life, the author never got rich. He wrote a book on how to get rich. He's trying to sell the book so that he can get rich. In my case, my colleagues, the core team of people I work with, we do not need to write a book, as I'll just leave it as that. In fact, I wouldn't say I believe this, I know this. So one reason we win every single day in the area called private placement platforms is because of our experience, expertise, ability to execute, transparency, and there's two other reasons which I'm going to share a little bit later on. Now, there's a lot of fraud in this space, and that's unfortunate. There's a lot of people who pretend to be private placement programs or not. I learned about, when I discovered private placement programs and I got frauded not once but twice, I had to learn how to vet them out. And I'm not a good judge of character or behind the scenes what really happens. So I had to learn how to hire former FBI and former CIA people to vet out these private placement platforms. Through that, I met a lot of billionaires, United States attorneys, auditors, like people like that. And they were the ones who were bringing the platforms to us to vet them out. And that's how I came across the 16 genuine ones. And then when I got into it, either my ego or something that I came across and said, why don't I do this myself? So when I said they're wannabes, I'm in full transparency. I'm a wannabe all day long. All the white hair I have is from all the times I've tried to invent the wheel or reinvent the wheel myself, and I've had lots and lots of sleepless nights all day long trying to figure this out myself, and I don't think there's any stopping in me. In fact, I have a couple of videos on how to buy a bank, how to negotiate with auditors, and so on. This all comes from the okay, now that I've been in a private placement program, I need to figure out how to do this myself. Like I'm for sure all in on, 100%. Really, truly, my vision is how do I help that entrepreneur access capital that a traditional bank cannot give them. I'm very, very passionate about my focus, my passion. It's just how I feel. A lot of these bank executives graduate from some Ivy school and they go into the 44th floor of some Ivy tower, and then they get promoted to the 77th floor, and then things like coronavirus happens and a lot of entrepreneurs to shut down their businesses, and these banks are not lending out money. I really want to disrupt that model, but I would say like private placement platforms have been in existence for 70 years. There's nothing new about this. The rich people is being exposed to ultra rich people, and I really want to decommoditize all these things and really help the everyday entrepreneur get access to it so they can win at their game, so that together we can create meaningful change in the world. That's pretty much a nutshell on how they work in the back end. How private placement programs are different compared to what entrepreneurs know about is that a lot of entrepreneurs feel or know that the only access to their capital is going and getting a bank loan, going and getting invested, giving equity of their company away like that to some kind of a shark investor. Maybe the investor's a nice guy. I don't know what the deal is. I think there's a lot of better, smarter ways of accessing capital. And listen, I'm a client of a private placement program. I'm not wishing, thinking about it, designing it. I don't know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. You find a lot of what I call fraudulent brokers out there. These are all what I call joker brokers. And how you find them or how you recognize them is to start the conversation with, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? This is really odd, brilliant. They start the conversation with, I'm direct with a platform. I remember 2.5 years ago, some guy swore to me he's direct to a platform. I said, no problem, I'm sure you are. Can you show me something called a level 8 banking license? He didn't know what a level 8 banking license is. Taimour Zaman, I've talked to 1,190. Believe it or not, there's that many joker brokers on the planet. Allegedly claim or something like that they're either a broker to a platform or the director of the platform or they're the like something to do with the platform. But there's a lot of fraud out there. A lot of clients have a challenge in knowing which ones are real, which ones are not real. One of the questions that I think a lot of these clients, when they hear about private placement programs, they start to talk to a lot of people. They start to get a little bit scared. Are these programs real? Like that, and they don't know any better. They don't know what questions to ask. So I thought I'd come and teach you everything that I got about these private placement programs. The real ones are 100 million or more, you have to be a client of a top 20 bank. And not only like you can't be the retail client of them, you have to be a client in the wealth management office. And the wealth management bankers knocks on your, taps on your shoulder and says, hey, you have $800 million part. How about we leverage $100 million of it and you do X, Y, and Z for the goodness of humanity? That's how the genuine ones truly work. Wannabe ones are buying the same banking instruments. They get some kind of somebody who's committed to monetizing instrument. They work backwards and get somebody who wants to issue the instrument. They go to a bunch of rich, high net worth clients and say, do you want to pony up 50 million? Do you want to pony up 10 million? Do you want to pony up 80 million? And then we try to put it together to go to a real, genuine private placement platform, or we try to do the buy and sell ourselves internally. How you know whether you're talking to a wannabe or genuine one is one way you would know that is how the material gets disclosed to you. If the material gets that disclosed to you is not fancy, more likely you're working with a genuine one. The ones that have flyers and have like a bunny on the right side and it has cool graphics, those are the fraudulent ones. I want to promise you, when HSBC wants to do a private placement program, there's no bunny and there's no logo. Here's what it is. The fraudulent ones, if you're familiar with something called ICC, use ICC terms that are wrong. Use MT760 terms that are wrong. The wannabe ones, the ones that are genuine and perform, have standard ICC forms. You wouldn't see a document that says, yeah, you're going to give me euros, and then later on you see something called US dollar signs. Like there's no error in their document presentation, if I can say it that way. And then depending on how they want their money. So the real private placement programs, they actually want $100 million or more. The ones that are wannabes, they're not genuine private placement programs, will say, I have a small cap program, I have this, I have that, and I'll take a standby of credit, or I'll take a medium term note, or I'll take something. My experience of it, those ones are not the real ones. That's just been my experience so far. They're not the genuine ones. They're the wannabe ones, and that's where the risk is. If I wanted to go back in time and go to a wannabe one and I wanted to protect my money, I would give them a standby letter of credit. Are you ready? That's non-callable. I would give them an SBLC that's non-callable. That way the money is blocked in my account, not theirs. If they can perform, I lose pretty much. I don't want to say I lose nothing. It's an opportunity cost. But that's what I would do if I had to go back in time. So clients don't know how to vet them out. A lot of them, I feel, are chasing some kind of a rainbow that doesn't exist. The more the ridiculous the returns are, the more the likelihood that it is fraudulent. And I've seen a lot of this in Canada, which is where I live, unfortunately. I see a lot of fraudulent ones in New York. There's this person, I won't mention his name because we bump into a lot, my FBI, CI people, every time we're doing a vetting from a client who's got a private placement program, they hire us to vet them out. There's one particular person who's a doctor. He's like the quote-unquote intake officer, and he's got these ones where you put up $250,000, it goes into some kind of a fancy bullet trade. My ancestors have never heard about them. It turns into like $2 trillion and then goes into this other trade. I apologize for my word, stupid. It's ridiculously stupid numbers. So when you see or hear ridiculously stupid numbers, that's another indication that who you're working with is fraudulent. Now, if I had to go back in time and I wanted to do this myself, a lot of these private placement platforms and the wannabes, that would be me, we cannot disclose what the returns are going to be. By law, you can't disclose what the returns are going to be. That's true. I don't have one client that I've taken into a private placement program or one that's participated in a hybrid program with me that I would ever want to share as a reference. Now, in this video, I'm going to show not one but two clients, but once you start to see the video testimonials, you'll notice I don't mention their last names. There's a lot of things around it that I don't mention. For sure, to protect their privacy and as an honor to them, I don't disclose. That's private placement programs and hybrids and how they work, but pretty much the wannabes, the hybrid ones are trying to collect 50 million, 60 million from this guy to put it up on a real trade platform. And then we obviously take a margin from that as our compensation. If I want to go back in time and walk through my client's shoes, the one thing you have to keep in mind, you're looking for a needle in a haystack. There's a lot of joker brokers out there that will start their languaging with, I am direct with a trade platform. They will say that all day long. There was one who said to me 2.5 years ago, I said, show me a level 8 banking license. He called me 16 weeks after, and he said, Taimour, I never knew what a level 8 banking license is until I spoke to you. And then I went to who I thought was direct to a trading platform, and there was 11 people between me and the actual trader. And then at number 11, he actually stopped investigating more because he actually felt that the 11th person was a real one. Some of my previous videos, I demonstrate where I do a customer walkthrough or a case study on customers that participate in what they think is a private placement platform, and they got into this deal where the guy's supposed to be direct with a platform, but he's actually doing business with another group, and they're under this illusion the other group is direct with a platform, and that group is, they're under illusion they're onto a platform. It just becomes really messy. So that's where the small cap one is the reason why people don't get their returns, or they lose their money, or whatever that deal is because there's some kind of a group that belongs to a group that belongs to a group, and you're praying and hoping that every one of these people are honest people. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of horror stories on that all day long, for sure. In a minute, I want to show you not one but two testimonials of customers, not private placement platforms. They have not gone into a private placement program. Rather, they've gone into something called a hybrid private placement program. So it's like a look-alike. It's similar to a private placement program, but I can't emphasize this, they're not gone to a real private placement program. The truth is, a lot of entrepreneurs that I serve don't have 100 million lying around, 500 million lying around. They have some other amounts of money that they have saved up, and they're looking for something that's similar to a private placement program. So I've got two going on, two testimonials that I'm going to demonstrate of a client that wants to go into it. And then here's some frequently asked questions I usually get. The first question I get is, Taimour, why isn't everybody doing this? And I have multiple answers, but I'll give you the truth that I feel speak to me. One of my best friends, his name is Andrew Morgan, and he's a minister of a church. I've known Andrew since high school. He's best friends. He's a pastor, and he believes that access to everything you're looking for in life is through Jesus Christ. And I'm going to tell you, I actually believe him. I actually agree with him. I go to his church. I'm a very faithful human being. I come from a faithful family. So I actually believe in what Andrew preaches. The access to everything you're looking for is in your relationship with your creator. And I actually believe in that. So why doesn't everybody go into a private placement program? There's the Andrew story. Now I'll tell you about my mother. There's 3 women in my life that I am the closest to in my life as my mother, my wife, my daughter. Those are the 3 women that I would give my life for any day, for sure. And I love them dearly. My mother is 78 years old. She gets up in the morning and her life is about her grandchildren. Like me, she's like forgotten about me right now. So my mother at her age, given that her passion is all about spending time with her grandchildren, is not going to go into a private placement program. That's the truth. So why doesn't everybody go into a private placement program? I just gave you the story of Andrew Morgan and my mom as an example. So that's one of the frequently questions I get. The second frequently asked question I get is, can you show me some references and testimonials? So in this video, I'm actually going to show you not one, but 2 real customers that have gone not in a private placement program, but something that's a lookalike. But here's what I'm going to say. When you go to life, I believe is made out of players and spectators. When you go to watch a tennis court, I compete in martial arts. I've been in martial arts since I think I was the age of 17. When I'm out competing, it's me and my opponent, and there's a lot of what I call spectators. Why isn't everybody participating in these things? I think that some people are born to be a spectator, and some people are out there to play. If what you're looking for is access to a lot of capital, because if you have access to capital, you can hit your vision a lot faster. I fundamentally invite you to look at either a real genuine private placement platform or a hybrid of a private placement program or something like that is something that I invite you to consider. You'll be able to access capital far more than what a traditional bank can give you. Definitely not if these joker brokers can give you anything similar to it. That's my little 2 cents. Regardless of what business you're in, I feel if you have access to a lot of capital, investing that capital into your business, you can create meaningful jobs, meaningful change in the world. And those are the things that I am passionate about helping entrepreneurs with all along, kind of thing. If you're looking for somebody to work with, to go into a private placement program or a hybrid, the things where we win, and these are things that I invite you to look for, is the person you want to work with or the organization you want to work with. Do they have experience? Can they talk about the back end as an example? Do they have experience, ability to execute? Like, are they transparent? These are things that I would definitely invite you to look at. Now, in the world of players, not spectators, players, if you want to go and play in this space, there's 2 things you have to think about. These are the 2 things that I think about from a customer perspective. The first thing you want to think about is the security of your capital. That's the first thing you have to think about, secure your capital. So you want to work with any kind of an organization that has security of capital nailed down. Now in my organization, and please do not hear this as a solicitation. So once again, I'm going to say this, please do not hear this as something I'm trying to solicit. I'm not. What I did for myself and for my group of friends and family and people like that was we set up something called custodian account. What happens is that our depositors deposit money in custodian account. They get their deposit bonded before money gets anywhere. They get an ISA number, QSIP number on their money, on the bond, like they get bonded before they make a deposit in. Once the deposit has gone to a bank, me and my financial partners borrow the money from the bank. Now we are carrying the risk and we put it into a private placement platform that we vetted, that either we are a client of or another platform that we know works, and whatever the deal is. But we help on the execution side, and I feel that's the correct way of doing it. So the world is made out of spectators and players. A few people are players. If you want to be a player in this space, there's a couple of things I think you need to look for. The first one I feel you really have to look for, me as a client, as well, I would say, is my capital secure now? Now, when it comes to me and my team, people usually work with us because of our experience, ability to execute, transparency. The second reason why people would pick us is simply because we can bond the deposit. No real, genuine private placement platform will guarantee anything. All of the genuine ones will tell you best efforts. That's what all the genuine ones do, is they they'll tell you best efforts. There's a third reason why people pick us versus alternative options. Unfortunately, open domain conversation like this, I do not disclose the third reason why people pick us, but there are 3 primary reasons why people pick us. Experience, expertise, ability to execute, transparency, that would be one reason. Second, and something that we do very unique to our space, is to be bonded capital. I don't find a lot of joker brokers who actually have the experience. They wouldn't know how to get in front of a real private placement platform. They wouldn't know how to vet it. They don't have relationships. These things are truly a diamond. Like you're looking for a needle in a haystack. I have some videos that I put together for my competitors. People who want to get into this space as a competitor, and I'd love to share that. If you're a competitor, please reach out to me and let me know that you're a competitor or you intend to be a competitor. I have a slew of videos that I'd love to share with you privately in a consultation call, because there's correct ways of doing it so that human beings that are trusting with their money, that money is really correctly secured for sure. My name is Taimour Zaman. I'm going to show you 2 videos right now at this moment. Once again, I'm going to tell you these are not private placement platforms, but they're programs similar to a private placement platform in terms of returns that they pay, so that you can see hybrids or small caps like that they could actually be real, so that for you to get access to capital that you need for your capital funding requirements. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to the opportunity of working with you. Mr. Dr. Ashwani, you're a client of mine, and it's a privilege just knowing you. I introduced you to a platform for you to put money into. You took a little bit of a risk, right? Because the money left your account. It went into this platform. Did you financially benefit from it?
Yes, I had a great benefit. I was very happy with it.
And then did you, without me knowing, put a lot more money in it after you did your trial test?
Yeah, I have actually put almost 10 times more than what I initially
Right.
got with. Yeah.
And then is it true that today you're in this call with me because you now want to participate in more what I call small cap trading platforms that you have, you trust me to advise you to get into?
Absolutely.
And then have you hired, based by my recommendation, a former FBI person who is part of our team to do background check to some of the programs you brought to the table?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I'm afraid of asking you what were the results of what results did you get from hiring my FBI guys to background check your platforms? You want to talk about it?
In fact, I have become so much risk averse now that I don't want to do anything without, either it's being approved by this FBI guy, or if it is something like SEC, FINRA, and all that stuff, so it's just...
Awesome. And you are Dr. Ashwani. Which hospital do you work from? Awesome. Well, Dr. Ashwani, thank you for trusting me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
Okay, Peter, so for confidentiality reason, I am not going to use your last name, so you have some privacy. Is it true that you've been investing with me for a while? I don't know how many years now.
Yeah, in a number of ways, yes.
They've
been excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I think the first time was I called you. This is like, I'm going to give you the wrong number, 10 years ago or something. And I said, hey, I'm running this real estate investment syndication. And then you decided to show up and give me a check just without me even knowing I'm going to get a check from you, right?
Yeah, and I came right over like within a very short period. I don't want to say days, and I came over with a substantial amount of money and invested in the real estate.
That's
and
great.
It was good.
That's great.
And we kept that in there for years.
That's great. And then Peter, you contacted me to ask me about real estate investing, and I in turn told you about something called a platform. And once again, for confidentiality reasons, I'm not going to disclose anything about the platform or the returns the platform offers. I'll just say it was the entry point to the platform would be what we call small cap, which is less than $100 million. And you decide to put some money in it. And once again, for confidentiality reason, I don't want to disclose how much money you decide to put in it, but is it true you put some money in it?
I would say I put significant money into it.
No, but the first time around, I think you wanted to test it out to see if it.
Oh yes, yeah. I came in just
with some number. With
a smaller number, much smaller.
Much smaller, and then you got a return. I don't know how much you want to talk about how much your return was, because then you decided to market.
Well, the returns in this one was on a percentage basis, paid weekly as opposed to monthly, which was our previous encounters.
Yeah.
But this one here, it was it varies week to week. So
that's great.
Yeah. I can't recall what the numbers are.
And then what did you do? Did you go to market your house, or what did you do? Because then you came back with a lot of cash.
Yeah. I made a lot of.
And for privacy, I don't want you to disclose how much cash you put up.
Yeah, no, but I put a significant amount of money in afterwards. Yeah.
Afterwards, so the second time around in the platform.
As a matter of fact, I kind of I did a significant amount a number of times.
And is it accurate to say you got paid on a regular, consistent basis?
Oh yeah, weekly, just as they promised. Yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome. And then Peter, would it be true for me to say that you're now at a point where you're retiring and looking at retirement options?
That's very true. As a matter of fact, I am actually thinking of retiring earlier because of this platform. I was going to go to the end of this year, and now I'm thinking of probably the summertime.
Nice. Oh, very cool. Okay, good. I just don't know. I'm just trying to figure out in the world of being lawful and like that, not mentioning platform names, returns, or your full name. Can you talk a little bit to me about what your day-to-day job used to be, and because of the involvement, I guess, or influence I've had in your life, given I'm full disclosure not an investment advisor, what does the early retirement for you looks like?
Yeah, I work for the city of Toronto, and like I said, I'm going to be retiring soon. The next thing is I'm going to be full-time traveling.
Awesome, very cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. First of all, it'll be just probably North America for the next at least a year, probably 2, and then it'll be a lot of the world.
And then the platform that I suggested, do you feel like I told you I put money in it myself, which I think you verified that person put my own money in it. Would you recommend, or do you feel safe about it? Do you like is this a platform that you?
Yes, to be quite honest with you, right now I don't know if you're putting a date to this, but there's a lot of the world is in a precarious position now with Russia in war with the Ukraine. And that makes me nervous a little bit about what Russia can do to the world economy. And that's about the only thing that perturbs me, to be quite honest with you. But aside from that, I still believe in it. It's still working. It hasn't changed. I think it has changed something on the let's just say what this platform does and how it makes its money. It coincides with things like the stock market and stuff like that. So when you see what's happening out there in the world, it's sort of a reflection in a way, but it still has been phenomenal despite what's happening out there.
For sure. Awesome. Well, Peter, thanks so much for your trust, and thank you for allowing me to interview for 20 seconds or so. And thank you so much for trusting me.
No, thank you for being a friend.
So, Bob, you came all the way from the UK to hang out with me here in Toronto. You brought your broker, your family, right?
Everybody.
And you're a client of our hybrid program.
Yes.
And you're here to invest more?
Yes.
Cool. What did you get out of our day of spending time together?
A different perspective to all the investments that are available and how it will work for me and also my investors. And hopefully we can put it out there and deal with it correctly.
Are you doing round 2 next month?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the call that we've had with Taimour has been extremely informative when it comes to strategies. Even we tapped into a little bit of estate planning, a lot about the DLC program as well as the SBLCs. So it allows us to be able to get in better positions so that we can be able to invest more by being basically the bank first. That was something that we definitely learned in this call. It's something that we will definitely take to heart, and hope that everyone else, if you're interested, to give Taimour a call and set up a meeting. That way you can learn just as much as we have.
With Taimour just get things done. And basically, he's the guy when you have a problem, he's the guy that you're gonna call to get the problem solved. So,
now I'm gonna get 10,000 calls that I don't need.
Yeah, hopefully through working with you, we'll be able to secure some financing that will get us to the next tier and access to scale our business to go from building 10 townhouses to 60 townhouses in Rowlett, Texas, and then also maybe the purchase of a existing lot for 52 brand new homes in Texas as well.
Very cool. Awesome. Pleasure working with you. Thank you.